Welcome back to a new episode of $1,000 Car Guy, where today we're going to be installing this.
This is a homemade explosive device!
And what this is not a homemade explosive device, but it is a way to wire in all of your off-road accessories into your car. This is not an off-road vehicle, but its wiring harness is hacked to pieces and I don't know how to make it work. So we bought this to make it work. It's my Just a little overview for those who don't know. This is my 1990 Ford Festiva LS Turbo. That's how they came factory stock. And essentially, this car went through a bunch of iterations and in the process ended up getting the body harness pretty much hacked to pieces. Now, you can probably see I've done my best to label things, and originally, oh my god, that's a lot of ants. We need to get some spray. What's up, lizard bro? So as you can see, here's all the original harness inside the car, and I was going to put on the stock steering column switches and everything, but the fuse panel and everything has confused me so much I just gave up on it. So that's why we bought the kit. The kit that I purchased is the Nirider, which I'm guessing is a joke on Knight Rider, Universal 6-gang on-off switch panel relay system by Power Sports. Anywho, they make this in, I believe, 6, 4, and 8 gang systems. So go ahead, open up the box, and see what we got once I get this tape off. Inside the kit comes the 6-gang switch panel, mechanical buttons, a whole bunch of zip ties, extra clips and fasteners. Here's all of your labels that you can put on top of the switches, so you can customize where you want things to be and what's most important to you. Instruction booklet. Over here we have the main relay and fuse box. I think they said that this isn't really weatherproof, but by the design of the box, it's definitely going to stop it from getting rained on directly from above. So when we install it, it's going to be upright like this, of course with the cover on it. So inside we've got our fuses and our relays, so that we can relay like our headlights, our turn signals, fans, things like that. Everything I need in that thing. You got a main ground you need to find, you have a main power you need to do, and I believe this one goes to the so that this thing won't be powered all the time when the car is off. You only want it powered when you're going to use it. Let's get to installing. And for me, the very first step I need to take is to unravel the mysteries of the universe. So I won't put you through all that, but for instance, here's my headlight switch, and we've got high beams and low beams because I've tested it before, but I'll still need to have a ground hooked up somewhere. And then here's all the rest of the harness. So essentially I need to figure out where to cut so that I can splice in the box. I think the box is going to line up right about here, but in order to make sure of that, I have to strip everything back, so we'll check back in when that's done. So it's 4 hours later. This is how much wiring harness I've removed from the car. The harness has been greatly improved. So now I basically just have like 5 or 6 wires and a couple grounds hooked up. I still retain the factory clips so that if I ever need to take it apart, I can. So all of these is where my new harness is going to plug into. Here you can see every wire I didn't need. So what took me so long with this was the fact that I had to wire in the fans, make sure that they were going in the right direction, hook them up to one common power, so I just click fans on. It turns out I had a couple bulbs out in the car, so I was tracing problems, trying to figure out where my issues were. So for instance, the whole passenger side wasn't working for me. No headlight, no turn signal, and no front bumper light for driving. So then finally I got the bumper light to work. Okay, great. So then the turn signal, why doesn't that work? Turns out the bulb was out. Good thing I had some extra pieces that I could replace it with. Then I found out that the headlight was also burnt out. Good thing I had 2 other bulbs just waiting in stock. I also replaced this corner light because I had a better condition one. It was like a... well, it used to look like this. Another thing that I did was I went ahead and I made myself a wiring chart and then a very crude diagram of like, here's my fans, I've got turn signals on the outside, headlights, high and low switches, and bumper lights. So this little codex gave me all the information I needed as I went through, because you notice that some of the wires shared the same color, so I had to test both to make sure I was using the right one for the job. Next thing I did was I used my little battery tender to go ahead and check all of the connections to make sure that they were correct. So everything in this system is grounded on its own. It's grounded to the chassis wherever it originally was located. For me, there's just a couple down there along the side, and then it's mirrored on the other side of the car. So all I need to do now is supply power to whatever I want to get power. And that's where the box comes in, so that's next. So I was going to mount the box right here, but then I was looking at this harness, and I believe all these wires that are left are just grounds. But they do run into the harness, so I'm going to systematically check and cut off and terminate all these, and then pull the rest of the harness through. All of this stuff is for like wiper blades and windshield washer fluid stuff, so I shouldn't really need any of that since I don't have any wiper blades. So if I terminate all these grounds here and pull everything through, I've got a really nice opening to pass my new harness through, and I don't have to worry about any of this garbage getting in my way. So I'm going to do that right now. So here's all my good wires. I did manage to cut all the grounds out of the system, and as you can see, I have nothing going through that hole anymore. And there was a massive harness here, which I'll show you in a second, that I had no place to put because the floor is all different now because of the whole body swap. My battery's over there for the time being. I'm also not putting the dash in today because there's a lot more work to make that fit, but it means this is what we pulled out of the inside of the car. None of this is needed anymore because it all ran everything for the engine management system and the headlights and turn signals and all these extra relays, which is now being replaced by this box, which is incredible. So everything's all cleaned up inside. I'm gonna run my main power wire over to there. I have to tap into whatever my switch on power is. I can't remember. Probably should have wrote it down. So it's time to mount the box in the safest location I can think of, which is going to be right alongside here somewhere where all my wires are going to be nice and short. I have to ground the system outside here, run my power wire, blah blah blah. I'll show you once we got it hooked up. So I drilled some pilot holes on either side and sunk in some self-tapping screws. So that's on there pretty tight. I can still get the lid off. What I almost screwed up on was this hood prop rod. So this was up when I was trying to figure out where I was going to put it. I was definitely going to put it up way too high right along here, and I wouldn't have been able to put this prop rod back where it was. So I'm glad I checked that. Maybe you should too if you think it might be an issue. Also, so here's my feed wires coming into it. So the harness is going to plug into here, and it was actually going that direction. So I just put a zip tie so that it bends it 180 degrees back this direction. We've got our control line and then our electrical power harness. So we're going to run those in a little bit. Right now I'm going to tie together all the wires that I want running together. So for example, I'm going to have the low beam lights attached to the driving lights like they should be. The turn signals will be on their own harness, left and right. And then the headlight high beams are going to be on their own circuit as well. So I'll be able to do left turn signal, right turn signal, high beams, and normal driving lights with the bumper lights coming on. I think that should work. So we've got everything hooked up. Let me show you how it all works. Also, I threw the grill on and swapped out the other lights and stuff to make it look just a little bit nicer. We've got our main relay and fuse box right here. The ground wire I have looping around to try and take up some of the excess slack, going to this lug right here. This is all the harness I actually need. This big black cable's to run my fans, but I have all my turn signals, headlights, bumper lights, high and low beams, whatnot. We have two cables that run back in through the firewall. Coming through the firewall, we have this one ribbon cable that comes down to the control panel. As you can see, I started to populate the buttons, but the other stickers don't really do what I'm asking them to do, so I'm probably going to print up some of my own stickers and slap them on top of here. So the way it's going to go is I have fan, normal driving lights, high beams, left turn signal, right turn signal, and I'm leaving this one blank for now. It's probably going to be my backup light. The other cable that runs across and over into Nowheresville actually is the main power cable that runs down to my battery. Now, as you can see, there's two separate cords here. This one, which is controlling the box, and then this one, which is a signal wire that goes to your ignition switch. Now, this is going to be wired into the accessory switch, so that once your car is on and running, it's only going to send power here. If you didn't wire this in like this, you would have to run it straight from here to the battery, which means the switch panel is always going to be on, which means it's going to drain your battery. You don't want to do that. Wire it into your ignition accessory switch. As you can see, I have a lot of extra cable here. We're all going to shorten that up, but it runs right up here. I soldered and taped it so that my ignition's good to go. So if we apply ignition, you can hear my fuel pump kick on, and this is now lit up. Let's go ahead and take this out to the front of the car. Because there's so much cord, I can actually power everything from out here. It won't be like this in the final iteration once I have the dash back in place, but for now, this is how it's going to have to work. So we've got fans. I'm sure you heard them kick on. We've got our main driving lights. And as you can see, I've got one headlight, the bumper light, and headlight. It's actually all brown on the inside of there. I might have to replace that light. High beams. Ooh, all the best of the 1990s technology. Now we've got left turn signal. I'm going to have to install a relay flasher for that. Right turn signal. Yeah, and that's basically everything. I have not wired in the backlights yet, as they're part of their own harness. They will be wired into the harness that we just installed, but I wanted to make sure that I could get everything working up front before I started tackling things from the back. We're going to go ahead and wait till it gets dark so we can see the glory of this at night. It's really just going to be stock stuff, but I want to see it anyway. Well, it's hard for you to tell, but it is very bright to me. These are just the normal driving lights. Let's go ahead and try the high beams. Which makes me realize I didn't wire in the bumper driving lights to them. But as it turns out, I can hit my high beams and my low beams at the same time, so that's pretty neat. I don't know if I should do that for very long. Now the turn signals work, let me show you the controller. Now as you can see, it is very bright. It's actually very bright in real life too. But with the stickers, it definitely blocks out a lot of the light. So it looks pretty good to me. All I need to do now is mount the dash, attach that thing to it, and I think we're ready to go. Also, I got to wire in the backlights, but that'll be a piece of cake compared to before. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of $1,000 Car Guy. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have to say, honestly, this product was fantastic. The only thing that took me so long was working around the garbage wiring that I had before. If you had aftermarket lights and it just had power and ground to hook up to, it'd be like that and it'd be already done. So I can't recommend this product enough. They're not paying me to say anything like this, but I genuinely think this is one of the best parts I've put on this car since we started the build. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope to see you on the next episode. If you are interested in picking up one of these kits, I'll make sure to leave it in the description below for you. Okay, see you next time. Bye! Something I just wanted to say after the episode's all done is how well everything came boxed in this package. So we've got our protective foam, and everything just lays neatly down here, and everything was individually wrapped to keep it from getting damaged in shipping. And honestly, I really appreciate that. They could have just thrown it in the box, but they wanted to make sure that it got here without being damaged. So thank you, Nirider.